Well, we've got a busy afternoon for you. I'm Erica Pizzi. Thanks for joining us. We're following a developing story. The Senate Intelligence Committee has released former FBI Director James Comey's prepared testimony that he is scheduled to give at tomorrow's hearing. It is the first time Comey will be speaking publicly after being fired by President Trump last month. In his remarks, he will confirm that he wrote memos about conversations with the president and that the president asked him to let the Flynn investigation go. But he never said he would do so. Let's go ahead and bring in Paula Reed now, CBS News Justice reporter. And I see you, Paula. We both got these the documents in our hand here. They just came down, so I know we're both trying to comb through this here. Let's point to one of the first most interesting points that I can pull out in the first couple of pages here. And it seems that Comey is saying, and I'm just going to read this for folks because, again, this is breaking. We just got this. This is in James Comey's words that he, quote, felt compelled to document his first conversation with President-elect Trump at the time in a memo. He wanted to ensure the accuracy. He typed it on a laptop in an FBI vehicle outside of Trump Tower the moment he walked out of the meeting. He said, creating written records immediately after one-on-one conversations with Mr. Trump was my practice from that point forward. This had not been my practice in the past. And he goes on to talk about what he did with President Obama, which was not this. So, Paula, to you, do you think this shows a level of discomfort that FBI Director, now former FBI Director, James Comey felt with the president being alone, as reports are now coming out and we are learning?
Yes, now, of course, he has the benefit of hindsight, but the way he lines out this chronological series of events, all of his interactions with the president, and here, as you noted, he sets up the fact that at that time, their first conversation, he felt compelled to do something that he didn't feel compelled to do with the previous president, which is sit in his FBI vehicle and memorialize exactly what happened. And I've made my way through the testimony, and I can say this is not good for the president. While nothing in here rises to the level of overt obstruction of justice, these conversations, the optics of these conversations and what he was appearing to convey to the FBI director, it's not great. If we move on to the next conversation, after he meets with him that first time, he discusses a dinner that he had in the White House. He says it was just the two of us seated at a small oval table in the center of the green room. And the key quote that was memorialized from that particular meeting is that the president told him, "I need loyalty. I expect loyalty." Comey says he didn't move, he didn't speak, he didn't change his facial expression in any way during this awkward silence. And all he could promise the president when he said again, "I need loyalty" at the end of this dinner, Comey said, "You will always get honesty from me." And Erica, we can continue to discuss, but that's the second interaction that they had. And from there, you know, there's this continued pattern where the president tries to get him alone and asks him, in one instance, to back off of Mike Flynn, again revisits this issue of loyalty and tries to really press him on what he can do to make this cloud, as he calls it, the Russia investigation, go away.
So what do you think? Does this play into the narrative that we've already have, or is this a different story from what we've heard before?
Well, it feels like we got the Cliff's Notes before, right? Certain things have leaked out about this. Many of them here pan out to be accurate. For example, at one point he did ask Attorney General Sessions to please not leave him alone with the president going forward. But what's interesting is that he did not disclose to the Attorney General specifically what the president said to him about backing off of Mike Flynn. So it's clear there he does recognize that the Attorney General is a close associate, very loyal to the president, and perhaps it was not the best idea to disclose everything that had happened between him and the president. And in this accounting, Erica, it's fascinating. He says he talked to several of his top staffers, but he didn't really tell the Attorney General or the then acting Deputy Attorney General Dana Bente everything that had happened. He kept it pretty close to the vest, and instead wrote it down in these memos for a moment, perhaps just like this, when it may be important to inform the public. And Erica, one really important note here, though, it's on page 5. The former FBI director said he understood when he had this conversation about Mike Flynn, he understood that the president was asking him specifically to back off of Mike Flynn. Comey says he did not understand the president to be talking about backing off of the broader investigation into Russia. And for any defense attorneys out there, that could really be the difference between, trying to charge the president with obstruction of justice and being able to just defend him as trying to help out a friend.
Interesting. So does that point to intent, which is something that we have been hearing over and over, that when it comes to obstruction of justice, that sort of what the president's intentions were really needs to be clear?
Yes, and how Comey perceived this particular interaction. There's several of them here. He says he had 9 conversations with the president. 3 of them were in person, 6 of them were over the phone. Most of the ones documented in this testimony here are in-person conversations. But if FBI Director Comey did not interpret that conversation as being the president asking him to back off of the whole Russia investigation, that gives lawyers for the White House and for the president a lot to work with in terms of defending their client against any claims that he was trying to obstruct justice.
Right, a potential out. Okay, so of course we've got here, this is his prepared testimony, but Comey will be answering questions from Republicans and Democrats. What kind of questions is this testimony likely to raise?
They're being drafted right now. I think that once they release this gives his opponents, mostly the president's opponents, a lot to work with, a lot of very specific things to ask the former FBI director about. While we had, again, the Cliff's Notes of what happened, we got some indication. This gives a lot of very specific things for them to point to. For example, one of their phone calls in late March, Comey describes how the president said he believed the Russia investigation was a cloud, and asked Comey what he could do to help lift the cloud. We should expect a lot of leading questions from Democrats who ask him, do you think that was obstruction of justice? Was that appropriate? Was that something you've ever seen before? I mean, this is definitely a roadmap for those who oppose the president to have Comey maybe say more that could hurt the president. But for anyone who wants to help the president out here, there's also a lot to work with for them to, they could specifically point to the fact that Comey did not, about Michael Flynn, think he was talking about the whole Russia investigation. He was trying to help a friend. So whatever they had written this morning, Erica, I think all of those questions are going to be revised after the release of these opening remarks.
Okay, and if you're just joining us, folks, we have just received from the Senate Intelligence Committee former FBI Director James Comey's prepared testimony that he will be giving tomorrow during his public hearing for the Senate Intel Committee. And we have CBS Justice correspondent Paula Reed with us. So, Paula, how important do you think the language is here? President asking Comey to let the Flynn investigation go. Also, what you just mentioned, the idea of lifting the cloud over the investigation. How important is the language?
Well, there's two different arenas where this will play out, right? The first is in the court of public opinion. What are the optics of this? How will the president's supporters view this? How will the president's detractors view this? I think there's a lot to work with if people have some questions about whether or not the president has behaved appropriately in the course of this investigation. A lot of this is going to give them a lot of fodder. Specifically at the end of this opening statement, Erica, he talks about how the president seemed very fixated on getting the, quote, fact out that the president was not personally under investigation. That's very interesting. He also sort of made like an opaque threat against Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, saying he hadn't, quote, brought up the McCabe thing. That is a reference to the fact that Andrew McCabe's wife allegedly took campaign contributions from a Clinton-linked donor. That's under investigation by the Justice Department watchdog. So, to answer your question, in the court of public opinion, the optics of this are not great. The language, however, legally, there's a lot of flexibility here. There's a lot of different ways this could go. There's no smoking gun that clearly shows that he committed obstruction of justice. While a prosecutor could certainly find some evidence here, I think a really good defense attorney could probably, wiggle the president out of any of those accusations, say he was trying to help a friend, he was trying to play hardball, that kind of thing.
All right, so as you've combed through these 7 pages of his prepared testimony, Paula, what new light could this shed on the president's later decision to fire Comey?
Sheds a lot of light. What you see here is a pattern where the president tries to get the former FBI director alone, get him one-on-one, and try to either get a pledge of loyalty or at least get his assistance in helping with what he viewed as a public relations problem that he had on his hands. He wanted them to back off of Mike Flynn, what he described as a cloud of the Russia investigation. And also, finally, he wanted people to know, he wanted the FBI to get the fact out that the president was not, as an individual, under investigation. Erica, here's why that is really hard to do. Because when you have a counterintelligence investigation like this, they're really not focused on individuals as much as they are on tradecraft. They're trying to figure out how is the opposition, in this case allegedly Russia, how are they operating? Who are they going after? What are they using? Is there anyone we can flip? It's not like there's a murder and they're trying to figure out who did it. So yes, it's accurate to say the president was not under investigation, but evidence could have been revealed that any specific individual could have committed another crime and would therefore be under investigation. And then, if the FBI had gone out and told the public that the president wasn't under investigation and suddenly he was, then they'd have to go and update their what they had said. And we all saw in the Clinton server investigation what happened when the FBI had to go out and correct itself in terms of the status of investigation. It's very messy.
All right, I want to turn your attention to page 3 of this, Paula, sort of in the middle of the page, where he talks about his instincts. Again, for people just joining us, we're talking about the former FBI Director James Comey. This is his prepared testimony that he plans to give for tomorrow during the public hearing to the Senate Intel Committee. So he says this, quote, "My instincts told me that the one-on-one setting and the pretense that this was our first discussion," he's talking about with President Trump, "about my position meant the dinner was, at least in part, an effort to have me ask for my job and create some sort of patronage relationship. That concerned me greatly," says Comey, "given the FBI's traditionally independent status in the executive branch." How important is this moment sort of in this testimony here, Paula, where he talks about his instincts? Why does that matter?
Well, I think what will happen here is perhaps the president's supporters may view this as, well, what's the problem? What's wrong with the president trying to have a good relationship with his FBI director? And that's a fair statement. That's a fair question. But if you really understand Comey and what makes him tick, how he operates, one thing that he was very intent on was trying to preserve the optics of the FBI's independence. For example, in the Hillary Clinton server investigation, one of the reasons he felt it necessary to come out and have a press conference detailing why the FBI was not bringing charges, not something they usually do, explain themselves when no case is brought, is because he wanted the public to know that the FBI was independent, that they were not cutting anyone a break because of any sort of political allegiance. He wanted to protect the reputation of the FBI. That's also why he released that letter to Congress, updating them when they found those new emails on a computer belonging to Anthony Weiner. One of his primary goals each and every day was to protect the integrity, the image of the FBI. So here, if he thinks that the president is trying to make nice with him, become his buddy, and that would in any way compromise the integrity or the reputation of the FBI, that's going to raise a huge red flag for this FBI director. It's unclear, though, whether or not the general public will feel the same way.